Ethan Grant drove over to pick me up. A man who had always been aloof and self-restrained. He actually let his new secretary sit in the passenger seat. I knew this marriage was doomed. That day, Ethan Grant drove over to pick me up. When he opened the passenger door, I froze for a moment. A young, beautiful girl was sitting in the passenger seat, smiling sweetly at me. "Hi, sis." The girl greeted me politely. She didn't seem to have any intention of getting up. I narrowed my eyes and turned my gaze toward Ethan Grant. Ethan Grant was looking down at his phone and didn't notice the tension in the air. We had planned to go to an auction together today. I had been looking forward to this date with him and had dressed up specially, but I never expected to find someone else sitting in the passenger seat. "Hi, I'm Luna White, Mr. Grant's new assistant." The girl's lips curved into a warm smile. 2 dimples appeared on her cheeks, making her look exceptionally sweet. "I heard you're going to a private auction tonight, so I asked Mr. Grant to bring me along to see the world." "Don't worry, I won't disturb you." My heart sank. I knew this cold, perfect man all too well. He had always kept his distance. He wouldn't let anyone get close to him easily. We had come together through a strategic marriage. After much consideration, we chose each other. Others joked that I was destined for a lonely existence. But after we confirmed our relationship, Ethan Grant would embrace me with gentle eyes. When he was moved, his eyes would turn slightly red. He said, "You're my wife. Husband and wife are one. You are naturally different from others." Today, something seemed different. But I wasn't the kind of gold digger who would swallow her pride. I'm Summer Quinn, who never lets her anger show. "Get out." I coldly shooed her away without mercy. The girl stood there dumbfounded for a moment. She hadn't expected me to humiliate her like this on our first meeting. Perhaps my tone was too harsh. Luna White was momentarily at a loss. "I'm sorry, sis." The girl's voice trembled with tears as she sat down in the back seat, looking disheveled. Ethan Grant had just finished his call and looked over at us. He realized I was angry. A look of helplessness and indulgence spread across his face. The man leaned over to fasten my seatbelt. Feeling that the seat had been adjusted, I impatiently readjusted it. After a lot of fuss, I was furious. This is so annoying. Why does someone dare to adjust my seat when I'm in the passenger seat? The air in the car grew tense, and the girl was too scared to speak. Ethan Grant furrowed his brows slightly and suggested calmly, "If you're in a bad mood today, let's just go home." The woman in the rearview mirror was silently shedding tears. I felt incredibly frustrated. "Luna White, right? I'm not in the mood to go now. You can take a taxi back. Mr. Grant and I are going home." The girl's face turned pale as she timidly looked at Ethan Grant. The man showed no intention of coming to her rescue. The girl got out of the car, looking dazed. Ethan Grant wouldn't embarrass me in front of others. He always knew how to control his emotions, so he suggested we go home. "If there's an issue, we'll handle it at home." This was our long-standing understanding. She's just a college student who's just entered society. Why are you getting so worked up over this? Ethan Grant embraced me. The first time. Ethan Grant was confused. "What? After all these years, this is the first time you've let another woman sit in the passenger seat." The man didn't expect that this was what I cared about. Everyone in the circle knew how outstanding Ethan Grant was. Countless women were attracted to him. Yet he remained pure and untouched. Though many flowers may blind the eyes, he remained untouched by any of them. Ethan Grant smiled softly, ruffling my hair. "You actually made me jealous." He leaned in to kiss me, his nose brushing against my cheek. "She's just my subordinate. There's nothing else between us." Ethan Grant cupped my face, staring into my eyes. He spoke firmly, making a promise. A woman's gut feeling is always accurate. Even though I had only met Luna White once, my intuition told me that this girl must have other feelings for Ethan Grant. I had thought that the initial warning was enough, but I never expected that the necklace meant for me at the auction would be worn around the girl's neck the next day. Haley, Ethan Grant's chief assistant, sent me a photo and a screenshot of her social media post. In the photo, the crescent-shaped diamond necklace hung around Luna White's fair neck, making her look even more delicate and charming. Her eyes were red and swollen, but her lips curled into a smile. She must have cried herself to sleep last night, receiving someone's gift. The screenshot showed Luna White's WeChat post. Mr. CEO said, "Even when girls are wronged, they must stay strong. Wipe away the tears and obey, my Mr. CEO." A few cute fist-pumping emojis, and a photo of the necklace inside a box. At that moment, my blood nearly froze. Though it's hard to admit, I must acknowledge it. I was so provoked by her that I nearly lost my composure. This feeling is unbearable, like my cherished white pocket square stained with a spot. This feeling is peculiar to me. I even wanted to ignore the facts, jump into a yellow Lamborghini, and drive 180 miles per hour to slap that woman across the face. But looking at my hands, I realized I was letting a cheap manipulator get under my skin, which was beneath me. I called Wenwen from Hermes. Wenwen's voice was filled with uncontrollable joy. She assured me over the phone, "Miss Shen, rest assured. Even if we had to empty Shanghai today, I would make sure the goods are delivered to you." So that day, before the workday ended, except for Luna White, all the assistants and executive office staff at the Shin Group headquarters, a total of 46 people, received a generous gift from Mrs. Grant. A Hermes necklace worth $12,000. Though the individual price couldn't compare to a 2 million yuan auction necklace, the quantity made up for it, ensuring everyone was treated fairly. Haley handled things smoothly. She required everyone to post on their social media with the caption, "Mrs. Grant said every girl deserves better. Fist pump, Roger that, my Mrs. Grant." The girls who received the gifts were more than happy to comply. As assistants and executive office staff, they were almost the gossip hub of the entire company. Now that they had received gifts from Mrs. Grant, who wouldn't be thrilled to post photos with captions? Some clever ones even added a line at the end of their posts, "Mrs. Grant really knows how to play the game." While the influence of director assistants within the company might not be significant, their ability to spread information across departments was formidable. Within half an hour, the entire company knew that Mrs. Grant had given everyone Hermes necklaces. As for the reason, the gossip circles were already buzzing with speculation. Luna White's face turned pale, as if she had been deeply insulted. She reddened her eyes and rushed to the restroom to take off the diamond necklace. Two colleagues who came in to touch up their makeup saw her and snickered. Luna White felt utterly humiliated. She lowered her head and hurried out of the restroom, the mocking laughter growing louder behind her. Her cheeks burning, she placed the necklace back into the box. She returned it to Ethan Grant exactly as it was. Ethan Grant had just finished a video call with his partner. He saw the girl, clearly having cried, holding the necklace box, staring dejectedly at her own feet. "What's wrong?" Ethan Grant asked, puzzled. Luna White couldn't speak before tears streamed down her face. She sobbed softly, looking pitiful. "Mr. Grant, please take this necklace back. I dare not keep it." Ethan Grant's stern face showed a hint of displeasure. His instinct told him something had happened. But he didn't ask directly. He simply stared at the person in front of him. Luna White bit her lip, hesitated for a moment, and finally spoke up, recounting everything that had happened in the office today in detail. "Mr. Grant, I'm sorry for always causing you trouble. I just posted it on my social media to motivate myself, but I didn't know why the lady found out." Luna White sobbed softly. "I didn't expect the lady to be so angry." The woman looked as pitiful as a little white rabbit. "Mr. Grant, I want to go apologize to the lady. I can explain everything to her in person." Ethan Grant never had the habit of checking social media. His time was consumed by work. But as the group's president, he was well aware of the company's tendency to spread rumors, and his usually stern face grew even colder. "I understand," the man said in a deep voice. That evening, Ethan Grant took Luna White home. The girl stood timidly behind the man. "I called Lolo here so she can explain everything in person." Ethan Grant sighed. "Summer Quinn, Lolo is just my secretary. Because of yesterday's incident, I gave her a gift as a gesture of apology. That's all." I stirred the silver spoon and finished the bird's nest soup my aunt had prepared. "Sis, I'm sorry." Luna White bowed to me with a sincere expression. She was trembling with fear, weak and fragile. "This is the first time I've ever received such an expensive gift. I got carried away in the moment. If I did anything to upset you, please tell me, and I'll change immediately." I raised an eyebrow. "Luna White, right?" The girl glanced at Ethan Grant, as if seeking courage from the man, and nodded slowly. Watching the woman act so boldly, as if she were a newborn calf unafraid of a tiger, trying to challenge me, I couldn't help but find it amusing. "I'm not your teacher, nor am I your superior. I don't have time to teach you how to behave. But I am Ethan Grant's wife. So anyone who dares to be ambiguous with my husband will not be given a chance to reform." The girl had probably never encountered someone as straightforward as me before, and her face grew even more embarrassed, revealing only her vulnerability. "Summer Quinn, Luna is here to apologize to you." Ethan Grant knew my temperament and methods. Even if he didn't approve of my actions today, he understood my feelings. So he didn't confront me, but agreed to let Luna White apologize to me. He had already made a concession, hoping I would let go of the misunderstanding. We're all smart people. A single glance was enough to understand each other's intentions. "I understand." I decided to give Ethan Grant another chance. After all, he hadn't cheated on me. But there won't be a next time, no matter who it is. You didn't have to use such methods against a girl. Before going to sleep, Ethan Grant brought up the topic again. "You should have told me first." I sat at the vanity table, styling my hair, staring at the handsome man in the mirror. "You knew I liked that necklace, yet you gave it to another woman. Isn't it understandable that I'm upset?" I couldn't imagine how I would feel if such a perfect person were tainted. Could I still admire him as before? Ethan Grant remained composed, walking to the bar to pour himself a glass of iced water. "She cried all night because of your misunderstanding. This morning, when I saw her eyes swollen like that, I gave her the necklace as an apology. Not a single flaw." I stared at him coldly for a long time. $2 million is just a small sum to us. Giving it away is understandable. It's just a matter of whether the other person is worth it. The man tapped his fingertips on the marble countertop. He was waiting for me to think. This was the first time we had a conflict in our relationship because of a third party. Our upbringing and manners made us both feel a bit tired of such matters. We are both people who value appearances. "Ethan Grant, I love you." Ethan Grant's fingertips paused. He probably didn't expect me to say that suddenly. "Ethan Grant, I love the pure and untainted you. That's what sets you apart from others." You never let women get close to you because you have a purity complex. You wanted a clean marriage. I wasn't like that before, but your values influenced me. Now, our life goals are the same. I hope your marriage never hits a crossroads. Ethan Grant sighed helplessly. I don't. Ethan Grant was a very clear-headed person. He knew I cared, so he wouldn't give Luna White any more chances to fantasize. Without the CEO's support, Luna White, as an intern, could only start from the most basic tasks. In the past, she still had the opportunity to rotate through the front desk. Now, Haley doesn't even schedule her for shifts. I didn't signal anyone to exclude her. Since Ethan Grant knows his limits, I completely trust him. Such matters don't require any instructions from me. There are plenty of people who will climb over others to get ahead. Within half a month, the new secretary couldn't handle the work disparity and psychological blow, losing a significant amount of weight. The turning point came after an important high-level meeting. That day, Luna White was assigned to clean up the small meeting room alone. The girl, wearing a skirt suit, was kneeling on the ground, using a knife to scrape chewing gum off the carpet. This scene was witnessed by Ethan Grant, who had returned unexpectedly. Noticing someone behind her, the girl awkwardly stood up. Ethan Grant's gaze was deep and icy. This silent stare left Luna White's self-respect in tatters. Mr. Grant. Tears fell uncontrollably from her eyes. She wasn't acting or pretending. Ethan Grant had always been the son she admired, but could never reach. When she was marginalized, she was almost ready to accept her fate. Now she was in this state and had been seen by a man. Luna White wanted to push Ethan Grant away and run out the door. After half a month, the once cheerful and lively girl had become so fragile. This was the first time Ethan Grant had ever lost his temper. He returned home and violently threw the glass of water I handed him onto the ground. Water splashed everywhere. Why won't you let her go? Summer Quinn, I respect you and love you. I've endured your insults and harm toward her time and time again. What pleasure do you get from bullying the weak? I recalled that during Ethan Grant's time abroad, his younger sister, who was in middle school, had jumped to her death due to school bullying. This had become an indelible scar in his heart, causing him to despise such acts deeply. Summer Quinn, don't ever let me see you hurt others like this again, or I won't stand by and watch. I stared blankly at the man before me, completely out of control. For the first time since we got married, Ethan Grant lost his mind over a woman, over something I didn't even do, and lashed out at me. This feeling was unbearable. It was like glass shattering. It was like water spilled on the ground, impossible to retrieve. Ethan Grant promoted Luna White to his personal assistant. At the same time, he fired Haley without hesitation. This was the executive assistant who had worked with him for 7 years. You need to figure out who you're really working for. Haley was stubborn in some ways. I'm working for you, Mr. Grant. Some things I'll handle privately with the wife. But only personal matters. The man threw the schedule in front of Haley. Is that so? So righteous. Does your professional integrity allow you to bully others? Haley fell silent. She knew her efforts to protect Luna White had been discovered, and her face betrayed her fear. Ethan Grant saw through her immediately. You have no tolerance for others, cannot distinguish right from wrong, and suppress your colleagues for personal gain. What qualifications do you have to hold the position of executive assistant? Haley left the office dejectedly. Several assistants outside looked gloomy. Sister, are you really leaving? Before the tears could fall, Haley quickly wiped them away. Yes, I'm leaving. Sisters, see you in the next life. Ethan Grant and I were in a Cold War, unprecedented. He was staying at the hotel. Luna White came to pick up his clean clothes. Ethan Grant is a master at breaking hearts. If he wants to make someone suffer, he'll go further than anyone else. The housekeeper had already received a call. She had packed his daily essentials. Luna White was probably scared off by my temper. She took the luggage the housekeeper had packed and quietly hailed a taxi. Before leaving, she cautiously said, "Madam, Mr. Grant asked us to add you on social media. If you need anything, you can contact me." Haley left, and Luna White took her place. "There's nothing to contact him about. Tell him to get as far away as he can." Luna White didn't understand why I could be so firm now that Ethan Grant was staying at a hotel. There was confusion in her eyes, but more than that, there was a hint of joy. The housekeeper shook her head and tried to comfort her. "Madam, why don't you just soften your stance? Go apologize to the master. You two never even argued before. Why did things escalate like this?" The aunt had been with the Shin family for over a decade. After spending so much time together, there was inevitably some affection. "He's waiting for me to admit my mistake and apologize, right? Ridiculous. Why should I apologize?" Ethan Grant never returned. Luna White's social media feed, however, became increasingly active. Most were about her outings with Ethan Grant. Chanel's custom-made evening gown. An invitation to a hedge fund dinner. A $1 million fireworks display at a summit forum. The evening view of Burj Al Arab. A photo with the CEO of Summit Capital, and so on. Every post was filled with admiration for how meeting the right person could open up so many firsts in life. Each post garnered over 100 likes. Some even suggested in the comments that she should start a TikTok account to show everyone the daily life of the upper class. A few mutual friends sent me screenshots of her social media with a question mark. Now, if you want to know Mr. Grant's whereabouts, just check his secretary's social media, and you can guess most of it. Everyone is smart. They speak only what needs to be said. Most of the people who accompanied Ethan Grant to events in the past were me. If I happened to be busy or unwilling to go, his assistants would take turns filling in. Now, his regular female companion has changed. I had no heart to respond to my friend's kind reminders. I simply sent a thank you emoji. At the time, I was privately asking Quinn Financial Group to help me with property division. This was a massive and complex task. Due to a strategic marriage, the two groups held shares in each other. Additionally, there was the family fund I managed, with countless investments in real estate, metals, stocks, ships, and more. Some overseas properties required me to see the property deeds and photos to even recall their locations. Organizing all this took considerable time. That day, I received a call from Ethan Grant, who had returned from a business trip. "Mom wants us to come home for dinner." "All right." We acted as if nothing had happened, as usual. The driver picked up Ethan Grant from the airport. Then he picked me up, and we went to the Gu family home together. Ethan Grant and Luna White, who was traveling with him, sat in the back seat, and they had even saved the front passenger seat for me. Luna White's schadenfreude was evident. I was so frustrated by my situation that I couldn't help but laugh. But this time, I didn't assert my authority. I calmly accepted the front passenger seat. Ethan Grant's expression was icy, and the atmosphere around him was so tense it was almost suffocating. "Sis, we just returned from Manhattan today. The old lady said she wanted to see Mr. Grant, so I bought some gifts on the way, and we're going to visit her together." Luna White was as chatty as ever. However, her demeanor was more mature and composed than before. It seemed that she had gained a lot of experience from being with Ethan Grant during this time. I didn't say anything and closed my eyes to rest. Luna White tried to strike up a conversation, but was met with silence. Ethan Grant kept his lips tightly pursed, saying nothing the entire way. When she saw Luna White, Mrs. Shin was slightly surprised. The girl greeted her with ease and introduced herself. She seemed to have a knack for flattering others. In no time, she had Mrs. Shin laughing heartily. At the dinner table, Luna White chatted with Mrs. Shin about some amusing incidents Ethan Grant had encountered at work. Mrs. Shin nodded approvingly with a smile. She then asked about Ethan Grant's personal life. Luna White responded with equal ease. The atmosphere at the table grew noticeably awkward. Luna White still had a faint smile on her lips. In the suddenly icy atmosphere, she realized she had said something wrong, but at least she wasn't completely foolish. Everyday life was something she should have answered. Mrs. Shin wasn't stupid. Ethan Grant remained silent. I elegantly wiped my mouth. Mom, I'm pregnant. Really, Ching Ching? This was wonderful news. Mrs. Shin's eyes lit up. When did this happen? The man who had been silent and expressionless since I got in the car now showed a rare flicker of emotion on his face. I raised my eyebrows mischievously. I found out yesterday. The doctor said it's already 3 weeks. Mrs. Shin was overjoyed and wanted to call Mr. Shin. She kept chattering about accompanying me to the hospital tomorrow. Luna White looked surprised, her almond-shaped eyes innocent and pure. Sis, did you get the dates wrong? Mr. Grant and I have been abroad on business for the past 2 months. Mrs. Shin looked stunned upon hearing this. No, it's correct. We specifically chose Dr. Foster, a renowned obstetrician, and it's indeed only 3 weeks. I emphasized the words 3 weeks. Ethan Grant was well aware that he hadn't been home during this time. This child wasn't his. The gentle expression on the man's face vanished instantly. Summer Quinn. Ethan Grant was brimming with pent-up anger, yet he was struggling to suppress it, as if waiting for an explanation from me. I smiled even more triumphantly. Congratulations, Ethan Grant. I'm going to be a mother. Don't joke like that. He spoke coldly. I placed the prenatal examination report I had prepared earlier on the table. Unfortunately, this isn't a joke. While you were on your honeymoon with your lover, I couldn't stand the loneliness and slept with a few of my exes. Now I don't even know who the father is. If you don't mind, I can let the child call you Dad, but he has to take my last name. With each word I spoke, the man's expression grew colder. Enough. Finally, when I uttered the last sentence, Ethan Grant could no longer contain himself. I ignored the man's anger. Ethan Grant, how does it feel to be cheated on? Ethan Grant never expected this. I would openly cheat on him and then announce it to the world with such conviction that I was pregnant with another man's child. I've never cheated on you. The man clenched his fists, veins bulging. It seemed this news had indeed hit him hard. We were just working. There was no crossing of boundaries. I never cheated. I touched my stomach. I didn't want to hear his belated explanations. Your secretary has been flaunting our work together on social media every day. Ethan Grant, didn't you see that? Even our friends noticed something was off and warned me to be careful. Do you still think that's not crossing the line? You can take her out to watch the stars and the moon, but I can discuss poetry and philosophy with other men. Ethan Grant rarely lost his temper. I didn't care much, but felt a bit regretful. What a pity, Ethan Grant. I didn't get the chance to bring a man back to the Grant residence. Compared to your provocative behavior today, I'm still a step behind. Ethan Grant couldn't accept it. He believed he had been completely honest with Luna White. Between them, aside from work-related communication, there was little else. He had only used Luna White to send a message to those around him. He didn't understand why things had escalated to this point. Up until now, he had always believed. Our marriage was stable and harmonious. Sis, Mr. Grant and I are innocent. In front of Mrs. Shin, Luna White rushed to defend herself. Mrs. Shin and I have spoken on the phone a few times. For the sake of work, I took this opportunity to pay a visit. This is all part of my job. You've never worked, so maybe you don't know, but as the president's chief secretary, I have to handle everything perfectly. But Mr. Grant and I have never crossed any lines. Luna White sat beside Ethan Grant, holding her head high. Is that so? On the way here, you sat beside Ethan Grant and let Mrs. Grant sit in the passenger seat. Did your perfect handling suddenly go out the window? I exposed her without mercy. The woman fell silent, unsure how to respond. I didn't spare Ethan Grant either. Ethan Grant, is this the chief assistant you've personally trained for 2 months? Haley is also a woman, also your secretary. She's been with you since she graduated from university. Has she ever sat beside you? She's more meticulous than Luna White. Have I ever targeted her once? Ethan Grant's breathing grew, and the corners of his eyes turned red. Let's get a divorce, Ethan Grant. The man dragged me home. He left Luna White behind at the Grant estate. This was the first time he had returned home since the Cold War began. The house had already been tidied up by me. Even the housekeepers had been dismissed. Ethan Grant stopped in his tracks, stunned and disoriented. The home we had shared for 3 years now felt foreign to him. He finally realized. My divorce had been planned all along. Ethan Grant's eyes were red, and he couldn't believe it. He held me tightly in his arms. Summer Quinn, I didn't cheat on you. The man's voice was low and filled with sorrow, echoing in my ears. You had the baby aborted. Let's start over. It sounded like a joke to me, and I retorted. That was my child. Why did you have it aborted? My calmness seemed to pierce Ethan Grant's heart. I didn't do anything. You know that. I broke free from his grip. Yes, I know. You're still clean. But what does that matter? You had Luna White come to our house to take your suitcase. You knew it would upset me. You brought her to every event. You knew I'd be criticized. You knew everything, yet you still did it. You tacitly approved her provocation, humiliating me and forcing me to beg for peace. You despise me for bullying the weak, but Ethan Grant, did you see that so-called weakling deliberately provoking my boundaries time and again? I wept, recalling the past, unable to believe my marriage was so fragile. You know she has feelings for you, don't you? I warned you long ago, Ethan Grant. Ignorance is one thing, but knowing better and doing it anyway is the most deadly. Ethan Grant trembled, unable to stand steady, his voice barely audible. I'm sorry, Summer Quinn. She always reminds me of Jition, and I'm afraid you'll become one of those monsters. Jition also had 2 sweet dimples. I just didn't want to see her cry. I've never had any feelings for her. Watching the man's confession, I felt nothing. Perhaps he was innocent, but I didn't want to foolishly hand over my weakness to anyone who might hurt me. Ethan Grant refused to agree to the divorce. He hired another elite male executive assistant. He even got drunk in the wine cellar. I had to exert tremendous effort to help him to the sofa. He had good drinking manners, quiet and compliant. But when I was about to leave, the man, with red eyes, pulled me into his arms, pleading weakly. Ching Ching, let's not get divorced, okay? If you want this child, give birth to him. As for Luna White, large corporations have their own rules and regulations. They wouldn't fire someone who hadn't done anything wrong. It was simply the CEO's deliberate distancing. It was undoubtedly sending a signal to the outside world. The former personal assistant to the CEO. It seemed like overnight. From a girl everyone envied. She had become the subject of private mockery. When Luna White found me, her once vibrant youth was gone, and even thick makeup couldn't hide her exhaustion. On my first day at work, I saw you at the company. This opening line caught me off guard. That day, I brought you tea and stood by your side waiting for your instructions. You were talking to Mr. Grant about what to give as a wedding gift for a friend's wedding, and you didn't even glance at me once. The girl's face was filled with scorn. Someone like Mr. Grant, if it weren't for work, I'd never have the chance to meet him in my lifetime. You, on the other hand, just had the good fortune to marry him. At the auction that night, I told Mr. Grant that it was rude for the boss to drive while the employees sat in the back. I said I'd switch seats with you once we arrived. Mr. Grant didn't respond. The girl seemed to recall the confidence she had felt that day. I dealt with the waiter and ordered a coffee and dessert for her as well. The girl was stung by my usual arrogance and composure, her eyes turning red with hatred. You're just a rich kid. What gives you the right to look down on me? Luna White looked at me with contempt. You don't deserve Mr. Grant's love. Is that so? Did you get it? I remained calm, watching the person in front of me lose her composure. Her childish face struggled to maintain composure. Isn't it because I threatened you? Why else would you want to divorce me? I stirred my coffee slowly. Because I cheated on you and got pregnant with another man's child. You know that, don't you? Luna White was speechless. The girl's emotions were on the verge of breaking. What do you have to be proud of? You're a temperamental, jobless old woman who cheated and got pregnant with another man's bastard. Do you really think Mr. Grant would want you? Slap. I delivered a harsh slap to the woman's face. First of all, even if I'm older, I'm still 2 years younger than the Mr. Grant you're so obsessed with. And who do you think you are to call my child a bastard? Finally, I've been wanting to slap you for a long time, you idiot. I was 4 months pregnant at the time. Shinjiaji had no room to maneuver. Under pressure from the Shin family, Ethan Grant agreed to a peaceful divorce. The two families held significant stakes in various companies, and the strategic partnership they had agreed upon was mutually beneficial, so their parents saw no reason to change it. The division of premarital assets was clear. Both parties had no objections. After marriage, we managed our finances together, and I kept everything in order. Ethan Grant signed the papers calmly. He was like a white crane that had fallen from its perch, its wings broken by its own hands, blood staining its once white feathers. We divorced gracefully. We said goodbye to each other. When the child was born, he took my surname, Xia. Others thought he was a premature baby, but his genes were indeed excellent. My mother kept asking me who the child's father was. I didn't tell her. The so-called one-night stand was just something I made up, but they didn't need to know. Since it was a boy, my parents no longer rushed me to go on blind dates. They planned to take advantage of their youth. They intended to raise the child as an heir. As the little brat grew older, he began to resemble his father more and more. Without the constraints of marriage, I lived a carefree and indulgent life over the years. I've also dated a few young, handsome men. Haley occasionally chats with me. From her, I've heard some gossip. Ethan Grant would hold me with a gentle expression. But in this circle, everyone is well connected. No major company would dare to hire him. Ethan Grant has become increasingly aloof in recent years, focusing on his career. Every year at the shareholders' meeting, my father would ask me to return to the country to represent him. I knew what my parents were thinking. It was amusing, but I didn't bother to expose them. After the meeting, Ethan Grant would pull me into the car. He said he was taking me to visit my parents. Junior really liked Ethan Grant. Someone had secretly told him that he was his father. He would wiggle his hips and call Ethan Grant daddy whenever he saw him, begging for a hug. Ethan Grant doted on him and never refused. Now that the child is growing up, how could he not understand? During the new year, I would stay in the country with my family. Ethan Grant would cancel all his work to accompany us. He wanted to ask me if I would remarry him. I refused. Marriage is better to have none than to have a bad one. Otherwise, it would be me who suffers. As for Junior, every time he saw Ethan Grant, he was visibly happier than usual. He insists on sitting between me and Ethan Grant, calling me Mom and him Dad nonstop with a silly grin. I tap him on the back of the head to tell him to stop. Ethan Grant blushes and looks at me helplessly. He has a million apologies he wants to say to me, but I don't need them anymore. The end.